Prepare yourself for Earthling Entertainment, the perfect blend of paranormal and pop culture, with your host, Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Welcome, fellow Earthlings, to Earthling Entertainment with Joe Wakefield and Ryan Lang.
Hey, I'm the host the Oracle warned you about, Joe Wakefield.
No one warned you about me. I'm Ryan Lang. What's up?
Hey, guys. So, for those of you joining us for the first time, what we do here is a little bit of the spooky, a little bit of the creepy. Sometimes it's cryptozoology, other time it's ghost, legends, folklore, some curse, some myth, but it's always spooky. Then it is followed up by a segment we like to call Disclosure Discussion. That one's all about aliens.
I'm just asking questions. UFO stories, videos, photos, anything like that. What's the government releasing? What are we asking them to release? Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. And this week we're doing Betty and Barney Hill, the famous abduction case. So that'll be a lot of fun. Then the latter half of the show, the second part, if you will, is all dedicated to the entertainment industry and pop culture. Sometimes we do a trivia segment. Other times we have headlines. We talk about celebrity deaths, movie news, music news, video games. It's all entertainment. And those two things together, the spooky and the entertainment, come together in a moon pie we like to call Earthling Entertainment. It's a hell of a podcast. Thanks for joining us.
That's right. Man, moon pies. I
Yeah.
haven't thought of moon pies in a while.
Honestly, I don't know why it popped in my head. I couldn't tell you the last time I actually had a moon pie.
Moon pies are good. You gotta put them in the microwave, right?
See, that's a trick I never knew. Like in my head, moon pies are just kind of like they're frosted, really, really dry kind of cake. And isn't there like
It's like marshmallow with
something
like
frosting
cookie,
in the middle?
like a graham cookie outside with the chocolate.
I don't know. I know they're like 100 years old though. They proudly say on their label like moon pies since I'm just gonna throw a date like 1919.
They're gonna be like when Fallout happens. That's gonna be like our Mylar cakes or whatever.
Moon cakes.
That
That's
and,
how we get through it.
And Yoo-hoo. I heard like Yoo-hoo literally has no expiration date, so that will be the Nuka-Cola.
Well, I mean, it's chocolate and water, and somehow that combination doesn't sound that good because you think of chocolate milk and you're like, oh yeah, creamy chocolate milk, and then you think of water and you're like, I don't really think syrup in that is gonna taste good, and somehow Yoo-hoo does it.
Dude,
Yoo-hoo is delicious.
I was gonna say Yoo-hoo's fucking great.
I don't care that I'm closer to 40 than 20. Yoo-hoo is delicious.
And now I can't not think of Big Daddy with the Adam Sandler movie where he's like trying to entice the kids with Yoo-hoo. And he's like, yeah, you know what's real good is Yoo-hoo with a little bit of rum.
Yeah, oh no, he was trying to see if any of the kids were bad influences.
Right, yeah.
So he's like, all right, none of you guys, you're all staying clean. Good job,
He's like,
good job.
Rumpelstiltskin's good man.
Well, you know, Big Daddy was weird because it was like this guy who he should not take care of kids. And, you know, a lot of people out there shouldn't take care of kids.
Well, yeah, I saw this story and I was just talking last week about how I went to Cedar Point. So this is from the Akron Beacon Journal. And it says here, Ohio dad charged after leaving children ages 2, 4, and 8 unattended at Cedar Point. It says here.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Like he just dropped him off like a daycare?
It says an Ohio dad faces a child endangerment charge, accusing him of leaving his 8-year-old daughter in charge of watching her 2- and 4-year-old siblings while he rode roller coasters at Cedar Point with his other daughter. So he took the older daughter and just went, you three just chill. And now I've got an 8 and a 4-year-old. That would be like me asking my 8-year-old to watch my 4-year-old and a 2-year-old on top of that. There's just no way.
Okay, but I have a couple statements here, man. Think about it. It was a 8-year-old girl. Now, I think she would be more responsible than an 8-year-old boy. I am just saying.
I'll agree with that.
Okay.
I'll agree with that.
And also, if he went riding the roller coasters with his older daughter. So there's two scenarios here. One, she wouldn't stop bugging him about going on a damn roller coaster over and over and over again. And he's just he's like, fine, I'll do it. Or he really wanted to go on a roller coaster and was like, maybe he's a single dad. Maybe this was just the only way.
Well,
to play devil's advocate. And that being said, I am kidding because, yeah, you can't leave your kids.
Yeah, and it's like, that's why you got to do proper planning. It's like going to a place like Cedar Point. You need some help if you're on your own with kids. I could go to Cedar Point with my kids, but I honestly wouldn't do it.
Or any amusement park, to be clear.
I wouldn't do it though without someone there to help me, because there are going to be times when there's certain rides that, my 4-year-old can't ride that my 8-year-old can. And there's going to, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point in going if you can't set yourself up to do it?
Ryan, they pay park security, okay? So clearly you should just be able to let your children run amok. I mean, they'll be fine.
Well, and the older daughter should just ride on her own, honestly.
Honestly, how old was the older daughter? Because it just said it was the older daughter.
Yeah,
maybe she was 9.
It doesn't say. The dad's 36, so he's my age.
Okay, well, that I was kidding though. Like that is a completely irresponsible thing. That's like those people who leave and I'm not trying to compare a child to a dog, but it's like the people who leave their dogs in the cars with the windows rolled up and they just, I was just running in real quick. Be like, this is the grocery store. You're in there 20 minutes. You can kill your damn dog.
I loved when people would like leave the car. They leave like a sign that would be like, the dog is fine, the AC is on, and he's listening to whatever.
He's clearly listening to NPR because this dog is cultured, you son of a bitch. Now leave him alone while he's studying the ways of the world.
So the Sandusky police say that a park goer alerted Cedar Point security around 9 p.m. Friday that a 2-year-old girl was playing in the dirt by the Magnum roller coaster with no parents in sight.
Okay, yeah, see, that's going to alert some people.
Especially, that's late. So at 9 at night,
yeah, there's just this baby just hanging out in in the dirt. I'd be like, hey guys, should we do something about this baby?
They say police security took the young girl to an unattended wagon with a 4-year-old girl inside that was spotted near the Corkscrew roller coaster. So they were in separate places.
They're all like, ready, break. Dad's gone. Let's explore.
Security waited some 20 minutes before the father, the 36-year-old from Seneca County, returned with his 9-year-old. I told you. You called it. Yes. With his 9-year-old. So she was, dude.
I mean, the least you could do is let the 9-year-old watch the kids. I mean, come on.
Oh my gosh, dude, this guy screwed up, huh?
Yeah, man. I mean, that is what, dare I say it, Ryan? That's that behavior is a bit spooky.
Oh, that is pretty spooky.
Speaking of spooky, let's jump into our first official segment of the show. Spooky stuff.
The Askafroa. In the frost-laden corners of Sweden, amidst tales of trolls and whispers of the supernatural, exists an enigmatic entity, a spectral figure whose essence is so fused with her arboreal charge that you could almost mistake her for a part of it, a shimmering silhouette or a dance of leaves in the wind. Dangerous, even when not angered, Askafroa are sometimes considered to be Fae creatures and are known to have a relatively peaceful relationship with the Haldraken and with the Josefar. Her existence is woven from tapestry of Scandinavian folklore, a tale that pivots between the corporeal and the ethereal. Corporeal and the ethereal. Much like the fairy folk and spirits beings that she belongs to.
Yeah, so, if you didn't get it, this is a nature deity. They, and there's a lot of really fun stories. That's why we actually picked this one this week, is because, everyone thinks of the fairy creatures and the people from the Fae and all that as these kindly things. And most of the time in folklore, they are not very kind creatures. I think it's just movies and stuff and kids' shows that make you think like, oh, yay, they're hanging out with the fairies. But like, no, some of them eat you. Some of them take you to a different universe and you come back like 100 years later. Sometimes, it's never good.
Yeah, they say most kids' stories started off really, really dark.
Well, I know the Grimm fairy tales did. A lot of children are eaten and everybody's an orphan.
Yep. And just cutting off pieces of your feet so that they can fit into the shoe. That was like
Cinderella,
the original Cinderella, yeah.
They were like shaving their heel and stuff to fit in the shoe. Ugh.
It was, and I remember, I think were we a part of that? Did we do that show? No, we didn't do Cinderella, but I remember watching someone do that scene, and they literally were like cutting, and they had props for it was like pieces of their foot were like flying off
Falling
and,
off
and
it.
clumping on the
They're
stage.
like, if we're doing Cinderella, we're doing the metal version.
Pretty much. That is pretty metal.
Yeah. But anyways, Askafroa. Is that how you would pronounce it?
I've been saying Askafroa.
Yes.
It says right here, yeah, Askafroa.
Askafroa. Very, very cool forest deity. Let's learn more.
They are Dryadic creatures native to Sweden, Denmark, and Germany. Askafroa, pronounced Askafroa, also known as the Askafru, which I believe is Swedish, and the Eschenfrau, which is German, is far more than just a mythical manifestation. She's considered a guardian or a tutelary deity of the ash tree, although her intentions are far from benevolent. When we think of guardians, our minds often drift towards the kindly and protective. But Askafroa is not the sort to grace the covers of children's bedtime stories.
No, she's an ash tree who kicks ass.
She's an ashhole.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that one. Ashhole. Well done.
She is a being whose maliciousness can only be muted by appeasement, a sacrificial offering meant to turn her gaze away.
Give me presents! I won't fucking kill you, but I want an iPod.
Just water her tree, apparently. It says adequate watering of her tree, flowers, or other offerings. So I guess that's
Hey.
open to interpretation.
Hey, human, I'm thirsty. No, not that. Put it back. I want water.
Mountain Dew. Although, even with offerings,
No, hold on. Oh, it's a Brondo. It's what ash trees crave.
it's what they crave. It's what, yeah, electrolytes.
Very good Idiocracy reference. For those of you who haven't seen that one, check it out.
Go away, Baton. Although, even with offerings, Askafroa will become angered if their tree is harmed. Those who cause damage to their trees often become rapidly into ill health. Like, I will make you sick with the coronavirus.
Yeah, dude, it's like, oh, I cut down a tree and suddenly I got the mumps.
Yeah,
Bullshit.
that's right. That'll hold you up for a while, son of a bitch. One can say that the Askafroa's story is particularly poignant on Ash Wednesday.
That makes sense. That tracks.
On this day, a ritualistic dance unfolds. Humans would perhaps begrudgingly perform sacrifices and rituals to avoid the ill effects of her potential wrath. I like thinking of a bunch of people just pissed off having to do like,
Yeah, can you imagine everyone just coming up and like slitting the throat of like an animal and just tossing it at the base of the tree? But like, I don't know what to tell you. We had to water it with something.
and they're just like, man, what a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
You know,
This fucking ash
I'm
tree.
just trying to get to work.
Jesus
My commute
Christ.
is so much worse now. I've got to freaking slit my kid's throat.
I told him to, like, we were taking a hike. I told him to go take a pee. He did it on an ash tree. Then he got the freaking chicken pox. It's been rough. It's been a rough weekend. I'm sorry. Here, let me slit the throat of a bunny. Boom. Here.
Like, you know what? Yeah, just what
There's
an
presents.
such an inconvenience.
How many ash, are ash trees very abundant in Sweden?
Evidently.
I mean, enough that they have a god, right? So, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, fuck. They've got fucking fairy folk. These offerings were not just ceremonial, but essential. A social contract penned in ancient belief and sealed in communal fear. Failure to comply, or any action that leads to the harming of her precious ash tree, was believed to result in a multitude of misfortunes, failed crops, or even the haunting silence of livestock gone barren.
Damn. It's like The Happening, only better.
I didn't think that movie was so
Do you remember
bad.
that movie, The Happening?
I didn't think it was so bad. It
The
was-
trees were letting out pheromones that killed people.
Yeah, well, yeah, that made people kill themselves, right?
I wonder if M. Night Shyamalan was sitting back, like, reading Swedish folklore and been like, my God.
Like,
Honey,
that was
honey, bring me a pen!
was it?
Bring me a pen!
You just need Mark Wahlberg, right? It was Mark.
It was
Marky Mark. The physical description of Askafroa may not be vividly detailed in ancient texts, yet her presence is palpably felt whenever one wanders near an ash tree in the secluded Scandinavian landscapes. She's a murmur in the leaves, a chill down your spine, a shadow flickering just beyond the periphery of your vision. It's as though the tree itself serves as her body, its gnarled roots her fingers digging deep into the earth, its rustling leaves her voice, carrying ancient whispers and solemn warnings.
Rough. I don't know. I got nothing. Yeah.
Rough.
Yeah.
That's rough. Watch out for those Askafroas.
I don't know, man. I got really into it. You were talking, and I just kind of was just like just zoning out, just being like, wow, crazy deity of this woman who's half tree. And I was kind of thinking of this as the Game of Thrones I think it was season 7 or 6. It was before the final season, but they had a flashback of the the fairy type people and way when, and there was this dude who was like, they came out of trees, right?
Gosh, I barely remember that part.
I'm just saying, the whole tree creature, I've always liked that. That's why I like the Ents from Lord of the Rings.
Yes, the Ents are freaking sweet. Harum boom. Harum boom. So back to these Askafroas.
Oh my god, if we made friends with them, they would be our Askabroas.
They would. Broa constrictors. As for her special powers and abilities,
I don't know where to go from
they're
there.
largely implied rather than explicitly documented. The ability to inflict misfortune and illness stands out. A pervasive presence that can alter the very energies around her sacred ash tree, affecting not just the presence that can alter affecting not just the plant life, but all who dare trespass. She's a liminal deity, guarding thresholds between the known and the unknown, health and sickness, prosperity and poverty.
Yeah, don't fuck with the forest. It's like a lot of this folklore comes from the basically, I don't want to say the industrialization because that's not quite right. The civilization of the world, the us basically turning every forest and glen into a city or something. It's the taming of the earth, whatever you want to call it. But the battle of nature versus man.
Yeah.
There was all these folklores about are we doing the right thing by, Princess Mononoke was a great Japanese film. It was a Miyazaki film, but long story short, it was the same thing. It was nature versus man. So very common threads here. I always love that dichotomy.
Yeah, nature deserves it to fight back. It gets, it should be able to defend itself. And I think that's where we get a lot. I agree. A lot of this folklore, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of good stories,
I
creatures
always
like the
find
Ents.
myself siding with nature, right?
Well, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, you're always on the side of the trees and the animals, but none of us are going to be let's go outside and live. And be it's cold. I want to go outside and get my grocery stores and my pizzas.
It's because we're alien hybrids, dude. We're not meant for here. We're just not.
Back to Askafroa.
Askafroa. Yet, even in her ominous omnipresence, Askafroa bears an intrinsic weakness. She is irrevocably bound to her ash tree. Her power waxes and wanes with its health. If the tree is
it's like
nourished,
E.T. in that fucking flower.
yes. If the tree is nourished and respected, her powers magnify. But if it falters or is damaged, so does her influence. This symbiotic relationship forms the very crux of her existence. She cannot exist without her ash tree, and it would be a lesser being without her.
Yeah, we go out in the forest, we're looking around, we're like, hey, nice ash.
Yeah.
Tree. No?
That was bad ash.
Oh, man. In my head, I had this
You threw me so off.
I had this whole scene playing out. And then when I say it, I'm like, all right, no one can hear my visuals. So this isn't funny.
So, in summation, the Askafroa is from Sweden and Northern Europe. It's a Scandinavian folklore. It is fairy folk or spirit being. and it is considered a guardian or a tutelary deity of the ash tree. Askafroa remains a complex, enigmatic figure, a deity both feared and, in a strange way, respected. Like a mirror reflecting the darker aspects of nature and human belief, she serves as a chilling reminder that not all guardians are created to be saviors. Some exist solely to remind us of the fragility of the balance we so often take for granted.
And she ain't too bad on the eyes, neither.
I love Scandinavian folklore, such like that. I've been listening to Scandinavian music basically my whole life. Like I love the black metal and the folk black metal. Like the folk metal.
Isn't Fintroll a band?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And I got to open up for Fintroll, and they're from Sweden. I'm sorry, they're from Finland, but they speak in Swedish in their songs. And they were once asked in an interview, why do you do that? They're like, we thought it sounded more troll.
Huh, well, fair enough.
It tracks. It does.
Speaking of troll, we should do the traditional Scandinavian troll in one of these episodes.
I'm down because, yeah, I smell Christian blood.
Ha ha! It's a lit richer than other blood. It's like the darker maple syrup. You just know it's better on the taste buds.
I just remember that was that old. It was a dubbed movie, I think, or it was subtitled. It was a foreign film.
It's called Troll Hunter.
Yeah, and I remember the guy looking at everybody like, "None of you are Christians, right?" And they're all like, "No." And the one guy was totally lying, and the troll could smell him.
Yeah, the troll could totally smell him. That was a good movie. I think it's still on Netflix. So if you guys want to check out Troll Hunter, it's a little bit of a different kaiju film, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a foreign film. It was good.
Found footage.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was found footage. Man, it's been a long time since I saw it.
So yeah, Askafroa, very cool. All respect to the ash tree deity.
Yep.
That was this week's spooky stuff. Sorry if it was a little short, but the reason why is we were leaving room for this week's disclosure discussion, which, like I mentioned earlier, is the Betty and Barney Hill case.
Which is a big one.
It is a big one. So strap in for this week's
Disclosure discussion. Ha 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 ha! It's about aliens and stuff.
Betty and Barney Hill. This comes to us from History.com. Is it chasing us? That thought coursed through Betty and Barney Hill's minds as they drove down the empty, winding country road in New Hampshire's White Mountains. It was a September night in 1961. They hadn't seen a car for miles, and a strange light in the sky seemed to follow them. When they finally got home to Portsmouth at dawn, they were far from relieved. They felt dirty. Their watches stopped working. Barney's shoes were strangely scuffed, and Betty's dress was ripped. There were 2 hours of the drive that neither of them could remember what had happened.
What happened indeed. So I'm sure there are people out there listening who have never heard this story, but anyone who follows the UFO phenomenon pretty much knows the Betty and Barney Hill story. It's very cool. It's from back in the 60s. The interracial couple had a abduction case, and through hypnosis was able to recall many of the things that we would consider staples in sci-fi stories and abduction stories. And whether you believe it or not, the influence on pop culture and just the whole UFO craze in general, a lot of it comes from this story. So we thought it was about time we visited it.
I'm glad we are.
Definitely. Are you ready, Ryan?
I'm ready, dude. So, here, the Hills road trip was spontaneous. A well-earned break Barney decided the couple needed, as explained in The Interrupted Journey, a 1966 book they collaborated on with author John G. Fuller.
Great book, by the way, The Interrupted Journey. Definitely check it out if you like this case.
Barney worked a grueling night shift at the post office, driving 60 miles each way. Betty's job handling state child welfare cases was no easier. The little free time this biracial couple had was devoted to their church and activities related to the civil rights movement.
Which makes sense because they're a biracial couple.
After 6 months of marriage, Betty and Barney saw this trip through Montreal and Niagara Falls as their delayed honeymoon. They left so impulsively, they had no time to go to the bank before it closed for the weekend. They got in their car with less than $70 in their pockets, which I'm sure was a little bit more back then, but
Well, yeah,
still,
I mean, yeah. Let's say like $200 in your pocket.
pretty much, yeah. On the last night of their 3-day trip, the tired couple sipped coffee in a Vermont diner to recharge before driving back. Barney figured if they pushed through, they could beat the wind and rains from an approaching hurricane. They
Gotta love the outrunning the hurricane. I mean, you don't want to wait for the hurricane. I do get that, but like, we gotta drive. We can't stop to pee. There's a hurricane behind us.
Finish your coffee, Betty. We gotta go.
And you know what's kind of fucked up? If they had waited for the damn hurricane, they probably wouldn't have been abducted by aliens. I'm just saying.
Oh, burnt toast abduction.
Look, guys, just hold your damn horses. Is all I'm saying. Buckle in. Get some sandbags. You'll be fucking fine.
Have another cup of coffee.
Oh,
They left the diner around 10 p.m.
as one does.
estimating they could reach their red-framed house in Portsmouth, New Hampshire between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. at the latest. That was very descriptive. Red frame. As they drove, a strange light in the sky gave another reason to hurry.
What the hell is that?
What in the hell?
Boy, howdy.
At first, it looked like a falling star, but grew larger and brighter with each mile. Barney, an avid plane watcher and World War II veteran, was sure that they had nothing to worry about. It's just a satellite, he assured Betty. It probably went off course.
I mean, that would be a fair assumption, right? Because he's a veteran, he's going to know, well, that's not how planes look, so it's got to be a satellite. Like deduction, right? I've been in the sky. I know what those things look like.
So
Until
you lose 2 hours time and your blouse is torn and your shoes are scuffed,
and your butt hurts.
and your butt hurts. The light seemed to move with the car as Barney steered down the curving mountain road.
Uh-oh.
The light zigged and zagged, ducking past the moon and behind trees and mountain ridges, only to reappear moments later.
It was a scampy little light.
He's a rascal. Sometimes it seems to move toward them in a game of cat and mouse. It had to be an illusion, they thought. Maybe the car's movement made it seem like the light too was moving.
Well, if it's just a ball of light that's following them around and like moving and zigzagging and chasing them as they're driving, it reminds me of the stories of the Foo Fighters from World War II, right?
Yes.
And this guy is a World War II vet, so maybe there's something to that.
And that totally tracks because it's a bright light, and that's what the Foo Fighters were. The Foo Fighters were the UFOs commonly seen in World War II by people flying.
Which were described as just like balls of light.
Yep. And they, like you said, they zigged and zagged. They seemed to be intelligent.
The best description, I shouldn't say description, the best dictation? I'm sorry. The word I'm trying to use is the best showing. Depiction, there we go. Of them was there's this 2000 Sci-Fi Channel miniseries called Taken, starring Dakota Fanning when she was a little girl.
I remember.
And long story short, the first episode, because it followed generations of people from basically World War II to at that time present day. Long story short, the first episode had Foo Fighters, and that was the best image of those I've ever seen.
Oh, cool.
It'd be creepy. Some people are like, it's ball lightning. I'll be like, okay, ball lightning is a phenomenon that can happen, but that is like a ball of light that moves slowly over like a field or across a street.
Correct.
Like this energy bubble that's just kind of floating along. It's not like zigzagging and following a car.
No, you're not gonna. I am fully convinced that the Foo Fighters were 100% real, and definitely interdimensional. Maybe because they were just balls of light. Maybe we just were just like they operate on a different plane than we do. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Is it weird that I started liking the band, the Foo Fighters, more once I realized what their name meant?
No, that's same here. And that's what's funny is I think.
All right, well done.
I think I knew of the Foo Fighters before I knew
what Foo Fighters were. Yeah, me too.
I'll
exactly.
Admit. So curiosity overcame Betty and Barney. The couple pulled over at road stops and picnic turnouts to get a closer look. Through binoculars, Betty saw that the white light was really an object spinning in the air. Barney, she told her husband, if you think that's a satellite or a star, You're being completely ridiculous.
That's wishful thinking at this point, man, because I'm looking right at it.
Yeah. He knew she was right. Barney had an IQ of 140.
Damn.
Noted Fuller in his book, Barney was also a pragmatic man who wouldn't give flying saucers a second thought. The night was too quiet for a helicopter, a commercial plane, or even military jet with a hotshot pilot. He didn't want
like Chaz.
He didn't want to spook Betty, but he was becoming concerned.
Yeah, I think we might be fucked, honey.
What was this light and why was it toying with them? About 70 miles past the diner, the object hovered just above the treetops, approximately 100 feet above them. Barney abruptly stopped the car, keeping the engine running. He shoved a handgun he'd hidden beneath the seat into his pocket and rushed into a dark field, leaving Betty in the car. What he saw...
Wait, hold on. Is that heroic or a dick move?
I mean, he's going after it, right?
Yeah, but you're still abandoning your wife.
But he's going after it. It's kind of a self-sacrifice thing, right? At this point, it's been chasing them.
I know. It's scary. It does. You can see it playing out like a scene from a movie. I haven't seen the movie that was actually based off this incident, but I in my head, because I went to film school, I'm imagining the dash where he just cocks the gun. And checks it, and then
I see a revolver. I see like
mirror.
a snub nose. This is the 60s.
I agree. Oh, cinema.
So what he saw was as big as a jet, but as round and flat as a pancake. My God, what is this thing? He recalled thinking. This can't be real. Behind rows of windows, gray, uniformed beings seemed to look right at him.
Hey,
Barney recalled.
how's it going?
He tried to lift his hand to his pistol, but somehow couldn't. A voice told him not to put down his binoculars.
Hey, don't put down your binoculars.
He had a startling thought.
No one ever said the voice was not stupid sounding. What if the answer
I'm in your head.
it's why do you sound like Kermit?
What's Kermit?
Come in peace.
It's not easy being gray.
Oh,
you're fucking with me. You're definitely trying to do a Kermit thing.
yeah.
No, I'm not.
Back the way
Welcome
you
to our
came.
spaceship. Yay!
Oh, damn.
Waka waka. A voice told him not to pull down his spot binoculars. He had a startling thought. We're about to be captured. Yelling hysterically, he ran back to the car and barreled down the road as Betty tracked the craft.
Betty, get the fuck out!
I'm looking at it! Craning her head outside the car window, without explanation, loud rhythmic beeps sounded from the car's trunk. The couple felt instantly drowsy and lost consciousness. They came to 2 hours later and 35 miles down the road.
Well, why do you think you couldn't just drop them off at the same spot? The aliens are like, look, if we make up for the distance at the time they're missing, maybe they won't notice.
Snoochie boochies. Back home in Portsmouth, they tried to make sense of the night. Barney felt compelled to examine his body's lower half. Both seemed aware of a puzzling presence. In the weeks and months after, Betty, an
It's really
avid
hard
reader,
not to make a roofie joke.
pretty much, right? So Betty was an avid reader, and she checked out books from the library discovering the civilian UFO group National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena. She also reported the sighting to the Air Force, worried about radiation.
That's true, right? Like if you're reading up on it and you're like, okay, I think I had a close encounter, and everyone talks about the radiation, and you're like, I mean, think about it, it's the 60s, so you know enough about what happened to the kids and the birth defects of Hiroshima. Yeah, you'd be scared shitless. I would want to get checked out too.
100%. In coming years, with Betty suffering from disturbing dreams and Barney developing an ulcer and anxiety, the couple sought mental help. The two met with Benjamin Simon, a psychiatrist and neurologist who specializes in hypnosis, a mainstream technique at the time. Through months of weekly sessions, Simon helped the couple piece together what they think had happened. A vessel had landed on the Hill's car, putting them to sleep. Afterwards, gray beings walked them up a long ramp and into the spacecraft. Once inside, the Hills were separated, taking turns in an examination room that had curved walls and a large light hanging from the ceiling.
I mean, this is intense, right? Because this is like some of the most descriptive alien abduction stuff ever. And coming out with hypnosis, can you imagine like such a detailed account of something that happened to you that you can't remember? That'd be so weird.
That would be crazy. I've often thought about that hypnotism is something that kind of freaks me out because it's like, who knows what they're going to pull out of you? Like,
That's
maybe
true.
there's some shit that you closed the door on for a reason. Like, I think, what was that movie? Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon. I actually liked that movie.
That was a ghost movie, right?
Yeah, dude. And like, yeah, so she like did a
Hypnotized him.
yeah, and she opened up a door because she like said that he should be more open or whatever while he was under.
And suddenly he could see like dead spirits or communicate with them.
Just the one anyway, the one that was like possessed his house. The girl, spoiler alert, the girl was murdered.
Yeah. That was a good movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie actually. So I don't know why I just thought of that. But so here
I don't know. Hypnosis, man, is the whole idea that are you bringing up the memories, or are they like false memories or creations due to imagination? Because that's what a lot of the skeptics say. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's hard to say.
Yeah, it could be more like influence than an actual memory. Like you could like be like kind of motivated to say something.
It's true, because I mean, I write stories all the time, so it's like it's very easy for me to connect weird dots.
That tracks.
That does
That
track.
totally tracks.
You know, I was thinking my kid, he was born and he had jaundice, and he needed to go into one of those light boxes, right?
My kid too, yeah.
Right. So I was thinking as I'm looking down at him, and I'm just like, he's in this glass, or it's plastic, I'm sure, box with all these lights, bright lights shining on him, and these giant beings are just looking over him. And I'm like, what if hypnosis brought up a memory, and it was a memory of when you were like the day you were born in that situation? Of course, that might be interpreted as an alien abduction.
100%.
Isn't that weird?
That actually is interesting. That could be a thing.
It could be a thing. Anyways, back to their alien abduction story. So they were led up into the ship and put into 2 separate examination rooms.
Yes, and each was asked to climb up on a metal table. The table was so short, Barney's legs hung over the side. During the examinations, the beings removed Betty and Barney's clothes, plucked strands of their hair, took clippings of their nails, and scraped their skin. Each sample was...
I mean, if you're going to do that, use a pumice stone and use it on my feet. Let's get a little bit of a sauna thing going here.
Nothing like a UFO spa.
I'm just saying, they win. They get their DNA samples. I win. I get exfoliated. It is called a symbiotic relationship, sir.
Exfoliate, my friends. Exfoliate. Each sample was placed on a clear material, not unlike a glass slide. Needles connected to long wires probed their heads, arms, legs, and spines.
See, everything sounded fine until that.
Yeah, this got worse.
I don't want a giant needle in my spine or head.
Like, please.
I mean, anywhere really, but if you could stay out of my brain or spine, that'd be dope.
That'd be great. One large needle, around 4 to 6 inches long, was inserted into Betty's belly. Ugh. This pregnancy test left her twisting in pain. Throughout, a being Barney and Betty called the leader watched from the side. So they just had like this one alien
guy
supervisor.
standing over. He's like the one quiet guy with his arms crossed. He's just in the corner. And he's not as big as the other ones, but you're just like, you know he's the leader because he's the one wearing the suit.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll bet you it's really bad when he has to get involved, right? Like,
yeah, because he knows the best kung fu. I mean, they save his fight for the third act.
That's right. That's right. After Betty's examination ended, the beings rushed back into the room, excited. They discovered that Barney's teeth could be removed.
Oh my God, what the fuck is this?
Betty laughed, explaining that Barney had dentures.
What is that?
A fact of human aging the beings struggled to understand.
Yeah, so that's an interesting topic. Like, they didn't understand the fact that we fall apart. So that means either they do not fall apart in age in the same way. Do you know what I mean? Or, one day they just poof, they're dead. Or it plays into the idea that the Greys are artificial beings.
Correct. Yeah, I was about to say that they're basically a synthetic being. But I mean, they are, sentient and real.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah, they're just like robot people,
But, like,
basically.
why else would you not understand the breaking down of or an organic creature? Because as far as I know, everything on our planet, at least, that is, organic, gets old and falls apart, essentially.
Evidently, pretty much everything, right? There's not many things that can live forever.
I mean, there is an immortal jellyfish, which I know can basically at will, like, kind of die and phoenix out and go to like a younger version of what it was. Like, it could literally do a phoenix.
So I was about to say, so yeah, it's just a phoenix jellyfish.
Yeah,
Jellyfish
it's called
are
the immortal jellyfish.
I once had like a person describe jellyfish as basically just a floating stomach in the ocean, and that's basically all I think about them as. Is that's all they are, really. They're just they consume things. They don't really do much. They just kind of float around.
We don't know, man. Maybe they like, we can smell, we could hear, we can see, right? Maybe there's a sense that jellyfish have that we don't even know about, and they have like their whole situation that we're just unaware of. Because think about it, you look at a computer, and a computer just it's a box and it sits there, it doesn't do anything. But inside, with all the the computer it's like Tron. There's a whole world going on, right? So what if these jellyfish that were in these schools that were just kind of floating in water were somehow networked with each other and were actually experiencing a simultaneous fantasy adventure in their own head?
Right now,
Fucking jellyfish. Right. This has a lot to do with the Betty and Barney Hill abduction story. Let me tell you.
Right now, there's a school of jellyfish that are floating somewhere in the ocean. They're just like, fuck, he's on to us.
The chosen one has learned the truth. The beginning of the end times has begun. Prepare the prophets and the crucible.
Oh my god!
All shall end soon.
And then jellyfish just rise from the ocean and take over the world.
Well, we have seen jellyfish UFOs. Maybe they already have.
Fuck.
Back to Betty and Barney Hill and their zany alien adventures.
Later, alone with the leader, Betty asked where the craft had flown, admitting she knew little of the universe. The being joked with her, saying, "If you don't know where you are, there wouldn't be any point in telling you where I am." Later, under hypnosis.
It's kind of like a catty thing.
That's kind of a dick thing to say.
All right, man. Take it down a notch.
Whatever you say.
So fucking superior.
That was like a "that's nice, dear" kind of answer from like grandma.
Yeah, it's
like
you cute baby turtle.
Exactly. Yeah, we must be just adorable to them, right? Like they're like, "Oh, look at you!
I'm gonna stick a needle in your brain."
Yep, hold still. If you so later under hypnosis, she drew a star map shown to her on the ship. Not to be confused with the star map from the best video game ever, Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic.
I don't think anyone was making that confusion, but fair enough. So Betty drew a star map based on these hypnotic memory recalls. So
right.
Here's the question: is the star map we could verify or not? Because let's put it this way: the stars would look completely different from one side of the universe than it's going to from another side of the universe. So if it's just a bunch of stars and you say it's a star map, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we can't really prove it because the galaxy is huge. Or if it's just like, no, that is directly from Earth's point of view star map. Like, I don't know.
Right. So it'll probably be like a map from their point of view, maybe from their homeworld.
So it'd be no way to verify it.
In 1965, the Hill story was picked up by a Boston newspaper. After that, everything changed.
Everything changed.
The quiet couple story became the subject of a best-selling book and a movie starring James Earl Jones.
Darth Vader himself.
Vader. That's right.
And Mufasa.
And the dude from The Sandlot, the blind guy.
And the villain from Conan the Barbarian.
Oh.
Arnold Schwarzenegger one.
Oh, okay. The upstanding civil servants had become celebrity abductees. The Hills weren't the first to spot a UFO
They did all the talk shows.
Or even to report an abduction. But their story did capture the nation's imagination and was so widely publicized it has helped shape how we talk about alien encounters and abductions to this day. After the Hill stories, aliens with large heads and big eyes, dubbed the Greys, became classic sci-fi staples in personal accounts and pop culture. Close Encounters of the Third Kind and shows like The X-Files. Skeptics point out abductee stories depend on first-hand accounts, the most vulnerable form of evidence. Memories can be distorted by stress or distraction, or even manufactured. When a false memory is in place, psychologists say, the brain works to fill in the details.
Yeah, this is kind of like what we were talking about.
Yeah, and that totally tracks.
I mean, it is important to note, what did that? Where was the first sentence there? Skeptics say, what was it?
Yeah, skeptics say. Skeptics point out
Yes.
that abductee stories depend on first-hand accounts, which are the most vulnerable form of evidence.
Ooh, it is true though, because it's just like we have to just take this one person's word for it, and it's not just like they might not be lying, but their interpretation might not be correct.
And that's why I just can't wait for the day that I finally frickin' see something, really, really, really get a chance to see something. Because other than that, it's all, what videos can you even trust anymore? People, you can do video editing at home so easy.
Well, yeah, and now with AI, it's even worse because you could
Yeah.
you could seriously put in a little program, and be like, I want a UFO video, and it could just make some shit.
Exactly. And you could prompt the AI, pretend like it's being shot through a camera from the 90s, and then it'll look real because it'll look old and grainy, and it'll mask.
Yeah, and since most people don't research, they're just gonna believe it. It's like I can't tell you how many people. Okay, I'm on social media, and there's always these fake movie posters of kind of cool ideas. Like one was a Labyrinth remake with Tom Hiddleston, and there's the problem is they're all AI generated fake posters, and they have dates that are like a year away, and people are reposting. Yeah, isn't this so cool? Or no, this is stupid. They shouldn't do it. But either way, it would take 2 seconds of research. Go on IMDb, Google it. If a movie is real, a director would be hired. There'd be a budget. A studio would make a statement. It's very easy to verify whether or not these things are real. And these people just pass on the false information.
It drives me crazy.
It's the same thing. It's like AI with dude, I saw political videos, and I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just saying where one side was basically attacking the other, and they're just clearly fake AI made political videos. And you're just, It's unbelievable.
I see so many people sharing those AI Facebook page, AI made posters for remakes or sequels. And you can tell right away. If you took a second and looked at it, you're like, oh, well,
it just takes 1
AI.
second of research.
And I don't know why, but we'll get back to the article here. I just have one more point. There was something similar to this before AI became a thing, where articles were getting shared from around the country being like, it takes seconds to share. It only takes a second to share, lost child, child 3 years old is missing. And then you click on the link. And I would see all the boomers, everybody sharing, all my relatives, older relatives sharing these things. And I would click on it, and it would be an article from 2 years ago. And it's they found her 2 years ago.
Yeah, guys, you really gotta not just share things.
So I started to comment, it takes seconds to read. Because no one was clicking. They would just see it, and they're like, oh, I'm going to be a good Samaritan. I'm going to share the story. And actually, it was hurting the police departments because a bunch of people were sharing these old stories, and they couldn't get the new ones out.
Okay, yeah, you guys, there's an actual child missing now.
Right.
Yeah, well, so that's it. The Betty and Barney Hill thing, it's the exact same thing, man. It's these UFO accounts. Never tell.
So psychologist Michael Shermer points to patternicity, the tendency to see patterns even when none exist, helping us to see faces in the clouds or assume that one event caused another. Past experience also shapes human perception. Barney, a World War II vet, thought the head gray looked like Hitler.
Oh my God.
The guy menacing.
So the guy in the corner with his arms crossed that we said is really good at Kung Fu, now he looks like Hitler?
It's evidently he's also Hitler.
be like, okay, that is freaky. Can you imagine? It's scary to get abducted by aliens, but wouldn't it be scarier if Hitler was just sitting there in the corner of the room?
Put in another needle.
Holy shit.
Flacken.
We are in the wrong side of whatever this is.
Guten Tag. So Betty, meanwhile, who had been excited to see the aliens, evidently one that looked like Hitler.
No. She didn't see Hitler at this point.
So she didn't.
She was.
Barney saw that.
Yes, he's in the medical. She is in the medical exam room, and they're doing like the pregnancy test thing right now. And then
Right.
it's like she's talking to like a nurse.
And they're joking about getting old and losing teeth and stuff. They're just having a good old time.
Oh, you silly bitch, Betty.
Well,
That's what we call you.
Barney's in a room with alien Hitler. Like, Jesus Christ.
Ah! Can you imagine like the classic gray alien, but with the stash?
No. I cannot.
Oh no.
So Betty, meanwhile, who had been excited to see the aliens, bantered with the affable Gray, who performed her medical examination.
Yeah, like the nurse, I said.
Yeah, it's important to note, NICAP's scientific advisor cross-examined the couple and found their account credible.
Yeah, he believed it 100%. And what is that acronym?
I read it earlier. It was that program that she discovered when they got back.
Yeah, when she started doing her research.
Yeah, it was like, I can't find it, but yeah, I forget. It's a long thing.
Anyways, a gentleman from that organization, he believes them 100%.
So, the Air Force's Project Blue Book would ultimately dismiss the story, determining the unexplained craft could be explained by natural causes, hinting that the couple hadn't seen a spacecraft, but only the planet Jupiter.
Yeah, of course the Project Blue Book said that. At
Right.
that point, Heineken, man, he couldn't, or I always say Heineken. Anyways, that guy couldn't get the Air Force to admit anything.
No, and we know that those kind of projects really were just meant to discredit. They weren't meant to discover anything. For his part, psychiatrist Simon never felt the Hills had made up their story. He concluded Betty had dreamed the abduction and Barney had absorbed her story, especially since many of the most vivid details matched descriptions of dreams Betty had jotted down after the event. I believe implicitly in the honesty of these people, he said on a 70s radio program.
All right, so he doesn't believe that they were abducted by aliens, but he does believe that they believe.
I was going to say, he believes that they believe it.
Yes.
That they're not trying to lie. They're not really lying. They're
but his
suffering from something.
And his conclusion is basically they were really tired and had a dream and maybe a hallucination. Yeah. Well, whether that's credible or not, at least he doesn't think they're trying to swindle him.
And the dude's a really smart dude. They said he's got like an IQ of 140 and shit like that. And
Barney Hill, yeah.
Yeah, and she's an avid reader, so that means she's sharp. You know what I mean? So none of that tracks for me.
Well, the thing is, most smart people that I know at least are aware of what they see. Do you know what I mean? They're not.
Exactly.
You got to take their word for it a little bit, because it's one thing to be like, oh, they imagined the abduction. If it's like, well, I was sleeping in my bed and I woke up and aliens abducted me. Yeah, maybe you were just sleeping. Maybe that was a dream. But they were driving and they were being chased by a light for a while before they even got abducted. So how do you account for all that?
I can't, and that's why
maybe they got slipped acid at the party. I mean, I'm just saying.
That's why, to me, this is probably one of the most credible abduction stories I've ever heard. Of course, another explanation is always possible. The abduction actually occurred. The Hills stuck by their story despite years of skeptics and detractors. Like many abductees, the couple never felt false memory or sleep paralysis, explained what they experienced.
Yeah, they're like, no, dude, we know what the hell a dream is, okay? Thank you, though, Dick.
Right. Betty became a known voice in UFO research and claimed she was visited multiple times in the decades to follow.
Did Barney, or did he die early? I wonder.
I don't know. It doesn't say anything about that, but I mean, it did. They were saying the last about his health was he was getting like ulcers and a bunch of shit.
But that was just like strange stress. Like apparently he was freaking out, which, anyone who goes through a traumatic event has PTSD. So that makes sense.
And that's what I'm saying is it doesn't make sense that they would make it up.
I agree. The Betty and Barney Hill story, the abduction, very famous. If that was the first time you heard it, we hope you enjoyed that. And check it out online if you want to hear more.
Earthling Entertainment special report. So it looks like Nicolas Cage is going to take on the role of John Madden in the John Madden biopic. So, sports. He's the perfect pick. Huh? What are you doing in here, Dylan? John Madden was an absolute maniac, and so is Nick. You're an intern. You're not supposed to be in the booth. Get out. Get out. Football. I don't care who your father is. That's it. You're fired. Get out. Football. This has been an Earthling Entertainment special report.
That is the end of the first half of our show, which brings us to the entertainment/pop culture section. Welcome. How's it going?
Yo.
And our first segment, you know what? Real quick, I kind of cut you off. Did you have anything else you want to say about Betty and Barney Hill?
No, I'm good. That was a good article. Yeah, if any of you guys have been abducted, please hit us up.
Yes, if you actually want to hit us up for any particular reason, it is Earthling Entertainment Podcast at gmail.com.
That's right.
Music mumbles.
Alice Cooper's Amityville Horror. This comes to us from loudwire.com. New collaborations can be a bit unnerving, especially when there's a paranormal presence freaking you out.
I agree, man. It's hard doing anything when I'm freaked out by a ghost.
I just can't focus.
Be like, Joe, why aren't you done with that screenplay? There's a goddamn ghost over there.
It's that darn ghost again.
He's not bothering anybody, but he keeps looking at me.
Ew. Creepy. Little creeper ghost there.
Yeah, especially when I poop. He loves it.
That's, all right. All right, it's a spooker pooper.
There you go. See, I set you up. You didn't think you could make a joke, and you dug deep, and you found one. You
That's
found
right.
a joke, Ryan.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you very
Back
much.
to Alice Cooper.
Back in 1983, Alice Cooper and Aerosmith's Joe Perry got together to write some new music, only to be totally uneasy the full time due to their new surroundings. Alice Cooper recalled to Cleveland Scene.
What did you tell Cleveland C?
According to Cooper, he and Perry were both fresh from rehab and had decided to work together on music for a new film. His manager set him up with a home in upstate New York that was an old house in the middle of farm country. As Cooper recalls, I'm putting my clothes away, I leave the room and come back, and the closet door is closed. The drawer I was packing is closed. I don't remember closing that. The house was so full of whatever that on the second night we're sitting there and eating dinner, and it sounds like somebody is moving furniture in the basement. It's making so much noise, it's not even trying to be subtle.
See, that's weird, right? Like, it's not like you heard something under like other sounds. Like, no, it's a straight up like, we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you never know, and maybe that could be they're about, these guys are huge influences and stuff like that. So their spiritual aura is probably out there, right? You know what I mean? There's something to that. Maybe they work as almost like a lantern, and spirits are kind of like moths to the light, kind of thing.
Wow. I got nothing. I was going to say they just got out of rehab and maybe they're just fucking drugged.
It could be that too.
Yeah.
Cooper then shared his experience with Perry, who related similar experiences since entering the house. We ran out of the place, says Cooper. I found out later this is where the guy who wrote the Amityville Horror wrote the story, there in that house.
Ah, right. So if that guy was inviting some demons into the situation, maybe they stick around.
Yeah, is it weird that I have a strange temptation to summon demons with an Ouija board?
It's not a strange temptation, but that being said, if you do, you have to deal with the consequences, and that might not be fun.
I mean, as long as you say goodbye, right? You're good.
I have no idea. I personally, while I would be interested in confirming some of these supernatural things, I myself am not going to welcome demons into my life just in case. Just in case. Call me crazy.
Well, maybe not demons, but who knows what it is. But no, full disclosure, I literally bought an Ouija board. I haven't opened it, but I have it. I just always wanted to buy one, and it had a really cool planchet. Because usually they're just piece of shit planchets. It was a nice wooden one, so I bought it.
All right, we'll bring it one of these days, and we will do something on the podcast.
There we go.
Yeah.
You guys heard it.
Well-
We're gonna
We'll call that episode Ouijan. Ouijan with friends.
Ouijan.
Ouijan with friends.
Go
Now,
away, Ouijan.
maybe it'll be a bonus episode. It'll just be like a 20-minute thing where we do that, and it ends with a lot of like screaming and like
I was
sounds of flashing lights.
I was gonna say we're totally just gonna puss out and run out screaming.
Yeah. Then the next Earthling Entertainment is just like, hello and welcome to Earthling. Oh my God, what happened to them?
It's like, we are Ryan. We
Wait.
are here for you.
Uh, all right.
A little bit of the spooky. A little bit of creepy.
Well, speaking of spookiness from beyond the grave, why don't we jump into our next topic?
Let's jump into the grave.
Jumping in with
Remember that guy? Remember that gal? Well, now they're dead.
Gina Rollins, The Notebook, and A Woman Under the Influence star dies at 94. This comes to us from Variety.com. Gina Rollins, whose seminal and fearless performance in A Woman Under the Influence inspired a generation who starred in many other John Cassavetes features, as well
it's
as
Cassavetes.
thank you, as the romance The Notebook, died Wednesday at her home in Indian Wells, California. She was 94. Her death was confirmed by the office of her son's agent. In June, Nick Cassavetes, who directed his mother in The Notebook, shared that the 3-time Emmy winner and 2-time Oscar nominee had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Oh, that sucks.
The worst.
It's kind of ironic though, because wasn't her character in The Notebook, like, didn't she play
Severe
a
Alzheimer's.
Rose
Yeah.
McGowan character who is older and had severe Alzheimer's? That was
Yep.
the whole point of the movie, wasn't it?
Yep.
Spoilers for The Notebook, if anybody,
Honestly, I don't know why The Notebook got so much hate. I actually thought it wasn't a bad flick. That was
Oh,
pretty
it was
good.
a great movie, but
Yeah.
it was written by Nicholas Sparks, and all of his movies are like that. They're like super overly sappy, romantic like situations that are usually tragedies.
I'm not mad about it.
Ah, that's fine. Rose McGowan was I said Rose McGowan twice. It was Rachel McAdams.
So it's like, you have raised my romance and crushed it significantly, sir. Thank you.
Who hurt you?
Rollins' role as Mabel Longetti in the 1974 drama A Woman Under the Influence, written for her and directed by husband John Cassavetes, landed the actor the first of 2 Academy Award nominations. The other nom was for Gloria in 1980, also
Gloria.
directed
Gloria.
by her husband. In November 2015, she was awarded an honorary Academy Award at the annual Governor's Awards in recognition of her storied career.
Awesome. So she got an Oscar.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a Lifetime Achievement Oscar is still an Oscar, because just because nothing you did in particular was the best that year doesn't mean you can't recognize a career of influence. So, hey, she got an Oscar, man. Good for her.
Well earned, yeah, and she lived a full life, 94 years old. Holy crap.
Yeah, you can't complain about 94. I mean, Alzheimer's sucks, and unfortunately, once you lose your mind, I don't know about you, but if I lose my mind, I guess I can go, because, like, what's it? I don't know. It's a tough call. I mean, anyone who's been affected by that disease knows that it's hard all the way around. So to her and her family, we hope that everyone can heal and mourn in peace.
I agree. I sort of want to like get it notarized that like when if I get like Alzheimer's and stuff, just give me a bunch of crack. Just a bunch of crack.
Yeah.
Just let me just go. Leave me in a room, little padded room, and just let nature take its course.
I
you
mean,
know?
at least, I don't know. It sounds horrible, but if you're gonna do that, you gotta film it for some avant-garde filmmaker or science or something.
I'm sure I could probably make that part of the notarization. You know, as long as like some of the proceeds go to like my kids and stuff like that, I'd be cool with that. Like I said, let nature take its course. Give an old man some
Yes,
crack.
because nature is crack.
Give an
yes.
old man some crack.
All right, guys. Here at Earthling Entertainment, we know 2 things: nature. Never mind. Gina Rollins, you will be missed.
Yes, you will.
Earthling Entertainment. Headlines.
Remember that show? Well, now it's dead.
Aw.
Star Wars The Acolyte canceled. No season 2. This comes to us from Nerdist.com. The Disney Plus era of television series generally means the continuance of a particular show is always in the flux. No one expected Loki to have a second season, but lo and behold, it did.
Yeah, and it was pretty good.
It was
I
damn
don't
good.
think they're going to have a third, though.
No, it wouldn't make sense. They ended it perfectly. Presumably, if Obi-Wan Kenobi had been a monster hit, they may have given that a second season also.
I just got the Obi-Wan Kenobi and 4K Steelbook Blu-ray. I'm very excited to have it because I have the Star Wars timeline and novels on my bookshelf. It's every canon novel in order, and I'm going to put the films in their proper place in that timeline. And
Very,
now I
very
can finally
cool.
do it. They just have to release everything else on... I mean, I don't care. Even the bad series. I want them all on physical media. Anyways, back to this, the Acolyte show.
Every season could be the last. However, Star Wars The Acolyte was always designed to have multiple seasons, which makes the fact it has been canceled, well, I won't say surprising, but possibly evidence that Lucasfilm is listening to audience reaction more than we thought.
Yeah, people bitched about
They really
this
hated
show.
this show.
And I don't understand why they hated the show. I mean, it seemed like it focused a lot more on female characters and minorities, and maybe that's why. But at the same time, there was some real writing issues too. I don't know. And then here's another thing: is you're going to do a show about the High Republic, right? It's the High Republic, this great new era that we made in Star Wars. But every fan of the High Republic who read the books and the comics, this takes place 100 years after that. So,
Right.
so it's not appealing to the people who like Star Wars and never heard of the High Republic because they've never heard of this era. And then your High Republic fans are like, well, this is after everything that I've gotten into, where only characters that like Vernestra Rowe, the Green Jedi, and Yoda are the only characters that even show up that we know from the High Republic era.
And you only got to see his butt. You just got to see behind Yoda. He didn't say anything. He was just there for a moment. It was just
Son
kind
of a...
I know, and I didn't hate it, but like to me, my opinion is what I always say. This series suffered from the same thing, in my opinion, all series suffer from, is the fact that they're written poorly as a series. They just, sometimes they get it right, like with Andor, and sometimes they just miss the mark. They had a lot of really cool shit in here. They had the lightsaber whip. They had a bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I blame their PR tour. I'll be honest. They were a victim of the internet. They went around saying some silly shit, and I think that's what got them in trouble. Was I don't know. They just said dumb stuff in their PR tour, and that got shared more than the show.
Fair enough. Well, anytime a star or an actor, actress says something that might be considered controversial, sometimes it affects
Exactly.
the art overall. That's Tenacious D ran into that problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, Kyle Gass said one political statement that got him in trouble, and they had to cancel a tour. So maybe this show was canceled because of that. But either way,
It's
here
possibility, yeah. So the news, which Deadline reported, comes about a month following the finale of the Acolyte's first and only season. The mystery series, set during the High Republic era,
we go.
sort of, like the end of it, basically, about a complacent Jedi Order going after a new dark threat. Had a pretty solid premiere week, but steadily fell down during the streaming ratings in subsequent weeks.
Yeah, like it seemed like a lot of people were tuning out as the episodes went on.
They should have stuck around for episode 5, the freaking awesome episode. While the series met with pre-launch online hatred, giving the lesbian showrunner and multicultural cast, the uneven nature of the story, and the rewriting of familiar lore seems to have driven others away.
Well, to be fair, they didn't rewrite any lore. They just added lore. It's kind of like, all right, so do you remember at the end of Revenge of the Sith, And C-3PO and R2-D2 just went through this whole big adventure, a trilogy of movies. And we know R2-D2 remembers Obi-Wan Kenobi because in the first Star Wars, in the original, she gives, help you, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, I don't remember owning a droid. Blah, 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 blah. But for C-3PO, they're just simply like, erase his memory. And you're like, hey, wait, what? And that's it. That's how they do it. They're just like, you don't remember. So they kind of did the same thing here, a lot of people complain because in episode 1, one of the Jedi on the Jedi Council says, the Sith haven't been seen for millennia. And now we have this show, which is 100 years before the Skywalker saga, where there's a Sith. Well, they didn't retcon that. They just made the characters who knew there was a Sith die, and the characters who were unsure what it was not actually get confirmation. So you can argue that they didn't know there was a Sith. It's the same way in episode 4, the original Star Wars, how Obi-Wan Kenobi is about to fight Darth Vader on the Death Star, and he's like, I haven't felt the present like this since... And the implication was since he was turned into Darth Vader. But then you have the Obi-Wan show, which is like, they have this whole big middle adventure. Star Wars does this all the time.
Yeah.
So this show didn't do anything different than they've been doing.
I agree.
Sorry, that was a rant.
That was a good rant. No, it is, like I said, it had its high points and, it missed the mark on some other points. So it also probably didn't help that most of the show's characters died in season 1. Showrunner Leslie Headland had submitted ideas for a season 2 and was hopeful for a pickup, but it was not meant to be.
Yeah, so if you were a fan of Star Wars The Acolyte, unfortunately, you will not be getting a season 2.
I'm glad I was able to get that helmet. It's coming next year. I got the the Stranger's helmet. And I remember last week
So the Stranger, to be clear, for those who didn't see Star Wars Acolyte, is the main antagonist of the show.
Yes, and he has the cortosis metal helmet, which disrupts lightsabers, actually disables them for a few seconds.
Yeah, if you smack his helmet, it shorts out your lightsaber.
It was pretty sweet. And that's canon from the book. So it was first time they really brought that into live action, which I thought was amazing. And
we actually did a story about it.
We did. And so I got that, and I'm honestly a collector of Star Wars helmets. So last week, we basically had a D23 episode where we pretty much talked about all the things that Disney was, hinting at, and teasing and stuff like that. And I said that one of them was they had the Kylo Ren helmet, which was not available from where I usually buy, which is Hasbro Pulse. Disney was actually selling it themselves on the Disney store. So I signed in to get it. And I was 2,000 in line, and I was there 10 minutes before it went on sale, and I was able to get one. That bitch came in 3 days.
Yeah, they were ready for you, Ryan.
So I have to give Disney credit because where I told you I bought the Stranger helmet, it's not even going to be here till September of next year.
Yeah, the Stranger helmet was sold with an AI rendering of what it was going to look like, possibly.
Yes, I had that in the... It's so bold. to sell something you don't even have an example for, but I did want to say,
but Disney gave you the Kylo Ren helmet real quick,
and it's cool because it's obviously different than Hasbro Pulse, so it's it fits a little tighter. It's a pretty tight fit. They just use cushions on the inside as opposed to a head harness.
Would you say it's better quality or
I
less
would
quality?
Say when it comes to wearing it, I'd say less quality because it is heavy. They made it so it's the remanufactured Kylo Ren helmet, the one from Rise of Skywalker where it has all the red cracks in it.
Yeah, where it was re-welded together.
And so there's a switch on it that turns on those red cracks so they light up.
All right, and the mechanisms and everything to make that all work
makes
just
it
add
heavy.
A lot of weight to it.
It makes it all very heavy. And it does have a voice changer that I find I have to talk like this. Otherwise, if I talk normally, you could totally just hear my voice plus the changer.
Well, it's not like Darth Vader, right? It's a little bit more subtle.
Yeah, it is more subtle. So whispering works good in it. But I will have to say, I'm a fan of it. If Disney Store made another different helmet, I would probably buy one. But when it comes to if there's something that if you're looking into these to maybe cosplay to wear for that, I would honestly lean Hasbro Pulse. They have the nice head. You can adjust it to your head. It's got a whole thing in there.
It actually fits a little bit better.
Correct, and it's lighter and it's just more comfortable to wear. You just you can go on Etsy and buy like little cosplay helmet fans for like $10, and you just stick that inside, and bam, you've got like a fan, and there's plenty of room in those. So that's what I'm saying. When it comes to cosplay, Hasbro Pulse wins. When it comes to maybe a display piece, Disney wins.
Fair enough, man. Well, a little tip for those who want to collect some Star Wars helmets. And with that, why don't we jump into our headline number 2? Ryan, if you will.
James Wan is the latest director aboard the Creature from the Black Lagoon remake.
Yes, I am a huge fan of the Universal Monsters. I have all the originals on Blu-ray, and I even have them on digital. And I will say that a few years ago, when they tried to relaunch the Dark Universe and make a bunch of new horror movies, they started with the Tom Cruise The Mummy, fell flat on its face, and they canceled all the other ones. But we were going to have Johnny Depp and a bunch of others. Like, they casted everyone. If you go online, you can Google.
I remember, yeah.
You can Google all the stars of the Dark Universe, the universe that we almost had. Because, some people forget. Everyone talks about the Marvel Cinematic Universe being the first one to do it. They weren't. The first one to do it was Universal Monsters. They had crossovers, and they were all in the same universe.
Yep.
And eventually, Abbott and Costello showed up and talked to them all because they ran out of ideas in the 50s. But still.
Hey, it worked.
It did work. So I'm all for Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Me
Just
too.
saying.
No, me too. It's to me, it's probably the most iconic of the classic creatures, of like all the classic monsters.
Excellent. And this story comes to us from rumorg.com.
A reboot of the classic 50s monster movie, which has been discussed for decades, now looks closer to happening.
Woohoo!
Deadline reports that James Wan is in discussions to direct a new Creature from the Black Lagoon for Universal. It would be his first directorial outing since his Atomic Monster Company merged with Blumhouse. His version of the Creature is described as a grounded, modernized retelling that leans into visceral horror while paying respect to the original classic.
I like that. Visceral horror. Basically, they're saying it's not going to be campy. We're going to have this creature rip people apart.
Good. Yeah. Just make sure you're not redoing a film that was already mastered by Brendan Fraser. That's the only reason why The Mummy failed. Was The Mummy was already done. It didn't need to be touched.
All right, fair enough.
Again.
They could have just done the Dark Universe while keeping the Mummy canon. You're right. They should have just done that. But anyways, back to this Creature of the Black Lagoon reboot. Hey, look, man, it was like a tongue tie riddle thing.
From the Creature of the Black Lagoon. The initial Creature came out in 1954 and joined the pantheon of classic Universal monsters, spawning 2 sequels and numerous imitations. A remake has been mooted since 1982, when John Landis was going to produce with original director Jack Arnold at the helm. A script by Nigel Neal and the title Beast created by Chris Wallace. A decade later, John Carpenter, Rick Baker, and Christine scripter Bill Phillips were involved with the redux.
I would have loved to see a John Carpenter Creature of the Black Lagoon with Rick Baker doing the makeup and stuff. I wish that remake had happened.
Same.
Okay,
That would have been great.
that
Especially
would have
for
been a
that
good one.
time. That would have been the same time of like The Thing
Oh yeah,
and shit like that. God, that would have been good.
that would have been good.
Dude, The Thing is probably my favorite horror of all time.
It's definitely up there. I really, really, really like the thing, and I think it still holds up for a lot of reasons.
100%. It was better than the new one.
Well, I want to see the cut of the new one when they actually showed the practical effects and didn't just CGI over it. But apparently, that version of the movie doesn't exist. Like, they never cut it.
Wah, wah. Like, why do they? I don't understand. We talk about this all the time on this podcast. Things that hit the cutting room floor. It's like, we want that.
Well,
What are you doing?
Well, sometimes the movie needs to be cut for pacing or for time, and there's always reasons why. But I do agree that I wish when a movie came out on home release, whatever that may be, that you had the option to see an extended version where you could see all these deleted scenes.
Yeah.
And hopefully this new Creature of the Black Lagoon has none, because I want to see all of this visceral horror.
Me too. And so it says other filmmakers offered or attached to the project since have included Peter Jackson, Ivan Reitman,
That would have been cool.
Gary Ross, whose father, Arthur A. Ross, co-wrote the 54 movie.
Okay, well, that would be appropriate, but I don't know anything about Gary Ross's work, so I won't say it'd be cool.
Guillermo del Toro.
Guillermo del Toro, that would have been the best. Guillermo del Toro, they're about to say it, I'm sure, but he did The Shape of Water, which
Yep.
was his version of Creature of the Black Lagoon. So he probably never got it out of his system. Then he wanted to make his own movie, and that got him an Oscar. So just saying, Creature
Yeah.
of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, it says he created his own aquatic humanoid in the shape of water. Breck Eisner, and screenwriter is David Kajganik from Suspiria, The Terror. And
Suspiria is a great witch film.
okay, and Will Beal. Here's hoping that this finally makes the screen.
I think this time it will. I think Blumhouse and Atomic Monsters are the right companies to do it. Blumhouse obviously is a pioneer in low budget horror films. They made a lot of money. It's just with it being Creature of the Black Lagoon, I don't know if it's cheaper to do practical or CGI or what they're gonna do. But the problem has always been it's hard to shoot underwater monster stuff, right? But now that a lot of it can be done on green screen, maybe they can do it cheap enough. I hope so. I'd love to see it.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, the original, there was a lot of filming of the creature, underwater.
That's true, but there was also a lot of stagnant shots where people were just impressed to see a person in a diving suit / creature suit swimming around.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but-
it's different pacing in those movies. man.
True, but I could see them paying a little homage to it, filming at least a couple scenes really for real underwater and shit like that.
I hope they do. But are you excited?
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I find Creature of the Black Lagoon fascinating. I always have since I was a kid. I saw it when I was a kid. It was on TV. My parents, I forget, my grandparents were watching it. And I remember, like, all he would do is he would just basically take his webbed hand and just, like, suffocate you. He would just put it on your face.
Hey, man, that's scary back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary now.
Well, you know what else I'm looking forward to is one of the filmmakers, the best filmmakers ever. I would say the GOAT of directors is Steven Spielberg. You know, his next movie, he's doing Aliens. He's doing more Aliens.
I
Close
love it.
Encounters kind, man, like E.T. kind, like more Aliens from Steven Spielberg. I want it. I'm welcome. I'm very happy. Let's do this.
And he's got a lot more to go on. There's like so many more stories that have come out, with like Bob Lazar and all these other things. So he's got a lot extra material here that he could really, do something with. So.
Sure. And there's no real details on the story yet, but we do have details on who may be involved. Ryan, that brings us to headline number 3.
This Kingsman actor has joined Emily Blunt in Steven Spielberg's next film. This comes to us from Collider.com. The next film from one of the most acclaimed directors in history just got a massive update. A new report from Deadline revealed that Colin Firth, best known for his roles in Kingsman, The Secret Service, A Single Man, and The King's Speech, has officially joined the cast of Steven Spielberg's untitled Alien/UFO film, which he's producing with Universal. Firth joins Emily Blunt, who was the first reported addition to the cast,
I really like Emily Blunt.
all the way back in the beginning of June. The untitled UFO film is currently slated for release on May 15th, 2026. Spielberg is reuniting with Jurassic Park writer David Cope,
Woo!
who has been tapped to pen the script on the project, which will mark the first time the two have teamed up since Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
excited for
It's
that.
It's like, yeah, you just gotta let the. It makes sense though, because like that Indiana Jones, whether you like it or hate it, was about extra dimensional beings or AKA aliens.
I never
So-
saw the problem with that movie.
I liked it.
I literally didn't understand the hate. I was like, okay, that was an indie film.
Yeah, I also like the Dial of Destiny. I gotta be honest. I like all Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah, Dial of Destiny was great. They were all good.
Don't be haters. That's a problem. Kids today want to bitch about everything. They do.
Back in my day, I had to sit through commercials and watch reruns of Rocco's Modern Life.
Back in my day, we were happy to even get a superhero movie.
Superheroes? You mean the only Batman cartoon we ever had? Like we had
That's
like
it's actually not entirely true
That's
though,
true, yeah,
because
that's
like
true,
in 2000 was the start of the superhero craze, and that would have been 13. So no, we've been blessed. We're good.
Teen Titans. Just saying. That was like where I landed. I think that's where I ended up. That was like the last cartoon
That you were watching.
superhero show. Yeah, it was Teen Titans. I watched the original, not the new one.
Fair enough.
Despite not working together for more than 16 years, both Spielberg and Cope have kept busy in the meantime. Cope recently stepped back into the world of Indiana Jones and served as the scribe on the final installment featuring Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, and the Dial of Destiny, which was helmed by James Mangold. I don't know why, but that name is funny to me.
That name is funny, but he is a hell of a filmmaker, I will
He's-
say.
Not as good as Boy Silver. He's Mangold. Spielberg was credited as a producer.
Okay,
on-
dude, hold on. If you were James Mangold and you actually had like anybody named like Boy Silver as a last name, you'd have to hire them to be your assistant director.
Oh, yeah,
Can
'cause
you
literally your
imagine?
sidekick.
Yeah.
Like Mangold and Boy Silver.
Like that was a really dumb joke, and I was gonna make fun of you, but it is sneakily hilarious, I will say.
Yes, it is. So, as for the Oscar-winning director, he's worked on a number of large projects recently, including but not limited to Ready Player One, The Fabelmans, and West Side Story. Although he'll always be known as the first person to bring both Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park to life, two franchises which have held up as the most iconic and recognizable of all time. Steven Spielberg's untitled UFO event film will release May 15th, 2026.
And I am excited because once again, Steven Spielberg, great filmmaker, and I'm all about, obviously, we do this podcast, aliens and his take on it. So, are you excited? I'm excited. Here we go. Steven Spielberg. Woo!
I love it. Probably, yeah, definitely like one of the best directors that, like, what a time to be alive during like this kind of shit. You know?
Wonders we see, Ryan.
Wonders.
There's
We're
wonders
surrounded
everywhere.
by wonders.
Exactly. Well, something that unfortunately isn't wonderful
It
is
certainly is not.
one of our favorite characters and, a pretty damn good actor apparently is not going to be in the future of Star Wars. And
Bullshit.
let's hear it here with our headline, number 4.
Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu won't feature Boba Fett. Tamura Morrison says.
And that, of course, is the gentleman who plays Boba Fett.
And the voices of all the clones, because he's literally all the clones.
That's true. And basically, so Star Wars, The Mandalorian and Grogu, is the next Star Wars film that is supposedly coming out sometime next year.
This comes to us from IGN.com. Tamura Morrison has cited the Book of Boba Fett's poor reception as the reason for the once beloved bullshit. It's still beloved. The once beloved character not returning in Star Wars: The Mandalorian and Grogu. As reported by Screen Rant, Morrison said during the From Clone Troopers to Bounty Hunters panel at Fan Expo Chicago that Star Wars owner Disney hasn't asked him to appear in the incoming film or a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. The show, which told the story of Boba Fett as he escaped from the Sarlacc pit and acted as a miniature season of The Mandalorian, was among the worst received Star Wars shows. This show's reception does seem to have impacted the future of the character in the franchise, Morrison said. The Mandalorian and Grogu will continue the story of both characters following the conclusion of The Mandalorian Season 3. And while Boba Fett's featuring as a fairly significant character in that show had some fans hoping for his return in the film, including me, it seems Disney does not feel that way. Morrison originally played Jango Fett in the Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, but years later rejoined the galaxy far, far away as Jango's son and clone Boba Fett. He's made clear his desire to return to Star Wars, saying he wants a chunk of The Mandalorian's time, just as The Mandalorian led an episode of his show. And like basically the last 3-4 episodes was all Mandalorian.
Yeah, but one in particular was literally an episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah. This appears less and less likely. However, The Mandalorian and Grogu have now begun production ahead of its May 22, 2026 premiere.
Oh, I was wrong. It's even a year later. Damn.
So it's likely Morrison would be aware of his involvement if it was planned. I so disagree with this. Like, I never even heard the hate and I didn't understand it.
From the Boba Fett show.
Yeah, I thought the Book of Boba Fett was great. Like, I thought he did, like, I get it. Like, yeah, maybe it to me, I'm going to say it again. It suffered what all series suffer from, the way they're written, but I thought it was good.
I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. I liked him at the very end riding a Rancor. I liked his association with the Sand People. I liked it. You could tell, in my opinion, that it was clearly written as a movie and then